third drum set of the year. Full disclosure, I reached out to borrow this kit, so I'm not keeping it. This is a weird in a good way kind of kit, so I wanted to see what the hype was all about. So I sort of know what's inside this box, but not exactly. So you'll be just as surprised as I am. Big reveal. Look at that. If you couldn't tell, this isn't your normal rack tom. This is a drum set made by Welch Tuning Systems, and you all have probably seen clips of this all over Instagram and the internet, but as soon as I saw this, I knew I needed to check this thing out. See this giant wing nut? That is how you tune the drum. More on that later. Let's check out the rest of the kit. Got some boxception happening in here. Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, is this brass? Yo, this snare is insane. Not to take away from this drum or anything, but I have a really cool brass drum in the works, so I'm really stoked to play that thing. But in the meantime, I get to play this one. Yo, ooh. This thing is a unit. I was not expecting this beast of a snare. Oh my gosh. We got die-cast hoops. I feel bad, I'm getting my fingerprints all over this thing. It looks like a 13-inch, like a 13x7 if I had to guess. And once again, to tune this, all you need to do is give that a few cranks. Very, very cool snare. Let's see what else we got. Got the floor tom. This is just a 14-inch floor tom, but one really cool thing about this tuning system is because there's such even tension on the drum, you can tune this thing super low. And if you know me and my floor toms, then you know that that is right up my alley, so we'll definitely have to test out the tuning range of this kit. And last up, I'm gonna assume this is the bass drum, and the floor tom legs might come in handy. Look at that cute little thing. And just like the other drums, the bass drum also has the same tuning system, but it has claws instead, of course. There's a bunch of hoops hanging on the wall. Can you hear them rattle? This drum has got some thump for being only a 20. The 3-piece kit, so not including the snare, is the WTS Epiphany series and will set you back around 2 Gs. The shells are 7 plies of maple with 45-degree bearing edges, 12x8, 14x12, 20x14. So smaller sizes, but from what I've seen and heard, I'm pretty confident we can tune these to be super low, super thuddy, and super beefy. Also, this is their matte black wrap. It wouldn't be my first choice, but they do have other options. Now, the snare. This thing weighs a ton. Ugh, almost 12.5 pounds to be exact. Which that's another thing I want to test. Because this kit has no lugs on it, I'm curious how much lighter they are than a regular drum. Maybe not the snare though, because this shell is a beast. This is the Steve Pruitt signature snare. It's 13x7.5. It has a 1.2mm brass shell with 45-degree bearing edges and die-cast hoops. It has a pretty standard throw-off, and then we have even more adjustability on the butt plate. So even without the tuning system, this is a pretty crazy drum, and will set you back around 900 bucks. But how do these drums even work? We start at the wing nut, which is attached to a worm gear, which drives another gear, which in this case is called a worm wheel. That gear is attached to a shaft, which keeps the ends of the cable captive. So as you tighten the wing nut, the cable wraps around the shaft, making the cable shorter, putting more tension on them. And then of course, if you loosen them, that puts less tension on them and makes them looser. There's a single cable that weaves around the entire drum and goes through what we'll call pulleys for the lack of a better term, which are attached to the hoops. One end of the cable has a ball attached to it so that it can't pull through. Then the other end goes through one small hole and wraps around into a second small hole to keep it in place, but also so that you can remove it, which is another test I want to do. How hard is it to change a head? So again, it's the cable wrapping around the shaft that makes it get shorter and puts more tension on the cable, which puts more tension around the pulley system and should put even tension around both the top and bottom heads. There's like zero tension on the head right now. Okay, that might be a little too low. Let's give these 3 cranks. Snare is really easy to reach. Same with the rack tom. Also the floor tom. I feel like it might be a little bit more natural if it was on this side of the drum. And the kick drum, a little bit of a reach, but not impossible. Ooh, listen to that rack tom. By the way, there is no muffling on this kit whatsoever. We have some Evans G1 coateds on the tom batters, and then G1 clears on the reso. Snare has a G1 coated, and then a snare side 300 on the snare side. Bass drum has an EQ4 and an Onyx. I've only played this kit for like 12 seconds and I haven't even messed with the tuning that much, but I gotta say, those 12 seconds were the most fun I've had playing a small little 4-piece. A few little things to point out though. There's no mount on the rack tom, so you have to use a snare stand. I used to rock this look, so I don't really mind it, but I know this is a turn off to some people. So what you could do is get a Pearl ISS mount, which clips onto the rim, and then you can mount the tom off of a stand, which is actually what comes on the bigger WTS kits that have more than one rack tom. Okay, enough talking. Let's crank these things up for real now. Sounds good, but let's go higher. I think we can still go higher. I think this is the highest I've ever tuned a bass drum in my life. We need some muffling on the snare, I think. This candle should do. For that matter, this is the highest I've ever had a set of toms tuned. I haven't touched the drum key this whole video. It decided to grab my attention. Alright, so I messed around with the kit enough to get a pretty good feel for it and how it all works. So let's pretend I'm on a gig and the band calls for you to play with a low tuning, a medium tuning, and a high tuning. We're going to start low, then see how long it takes to tune the entire kit in between songs, and on the last one I'm going to take a solo and show you another thing this kit can do that others can't. Then we'll pretend that I break a head on that gig because we got to see how long it takes to change one with the pulleys and cables. Okay, next song, we gotta bring everything up just a little bit. Oh God, get the sticks out the way. That is way too high, oh gosh. Okay, I'm happy with that. The tape distracted me. I probably should have counted how many turns I needed in between songs, but I wasn't really thinking. Okay, so that's one thing I've kind of learned so far is you need to play the drums to hear them, to make sure that they sound good. That was probably a little bit hard to see, but a bonus feature of having the cable system is that you can squeeze on the cable and raise the pitch. In between songs, it only took less than a minute to change the entire tuning of the entire kit, so let's see how long it takes to change a head. I did one test run just to figure out how this works, and there's one part I really screwed up on, so let's see if I make that same mistake. Start the timer. No tension on the head, but we still gotta keep going. This is what it feels like to tune an upright bass. All right, we're very loose, but we still gotta keep going a little bit more. Okay, now we can push this cable up. and then we can pull it out of the retaining hole, is what I'll call it. Now that comes out of the second hole. Now we pull this cable through the pulleys. Then we can take the head off. Slightly awkward, but it's doable. Put your new one on. Oh, don't pull it out the pulley. And don't get twisted in your snare mic. Alright, now we send this up through the first hole. Yep. Now we send the end through the second hole, which this is where I really struggled last time. And I'm struggling this time. There we go. Alright, now we pull the slack out without pulling the cable all the way out. Gotta keep some tension on the cable as I'm tuning it up. And I think I have too much sticking out. Alright, we're good. Got some tension on the head. Time. And for those curious, the only modern 12x8 I have is this Pearl, which comes in at about a pound heavier than the Welch. So the Welch is just a little bit lighter.